Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. All right, welcome to the podcast, everyone. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I have the good fortune to welcome back two repeat guests, Mark Willis and David Barnett. We are going to talk about, both of them have been on the show to promote books and strategies that we've interviewed them about. And now I get the wonderful good fortune to interview them together about the brand new book that they wrote together that is coming out, that is called The Business Fortress: How to Grow, Protect, and Exit Your Business with Confidence by David Barnett and Mark Willis. David, Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation, Seth. Great to be here.
So I love it when worlds collide, right? It's a super small world. So Mark, how did you and David first meet?
I think it was through a podcast interview connection several years ago. And David, you were kind enough to let me on your show, and we had I think we hit it off, and we've had several conversations and the opportunity to meet in the flesh in person as well. And the book itself kind of came as an outgrowth of our discussions.
Yeah, Mark's been on my show like 6 times, I think, Mark, and going way back pre-pandemic. And because what Mark does in his strategies with life insurance are so powerful, and I increasingly am meeting people who are doing business deals using those strategies that Mark talks about. But I'm also seeing people, getting to the point of exiting their business, and they've grown wealth by developing one of these policies within the company. So I'm actually seeing people play out these strategies that Mark talks about, and it jives so well with the stuff that I teach about helping people to buy, grow businesses, etc. We eventually just started talking about it and just.
Oh, it froze on my side. You there?
Yep. David, you froze.
David, last 10 seconds. Say those again.
Well, wait, he's still frozen. Hang on. Oh. Okay. I'm going to tell John Warren on my team, whoever is editing this, can you go edit that out? And David's going to start over. We got to go back to the beginning of the answers.
Play out these strategies. We eventually just started about talking about it and
No. We can't go back. No, we got to go back all the way to the beginning of the question because otherwise they'll have to try and splice it. He didn't exactly pause. He got cut off.
Good point.
All right. So here, I'm going to pause for 3 seconds for silence for editing, and then I will make up the question that David will re-answer. Okay. So pausing now. David, that's Mark's take on it. Tell us a little bit about your side of the story.
Yeah. So over the course of the years, ever since I met Mark, I've met more and more people who are using the strategy that he teaches in trying to buy a business, through using wealth that they've accumulated through these insurance plans. As well, I've seen people exiting their businesses, putting them up for sale, who have built up one of these policies within their company. And I've just seen how well the strategy works. And so that's why I'm a fan. And I'm honestly just a fan of options and creating resiliency in your business so that you don't have your back up against the wall all the time, which is what happens for a lot of small business people who are constantly pushing for growth, and often using leverage, which can put you in a pretty weak position.
Absolutely. So that makes a lot of sense. We'll start with Mark and then go back to, we'll start with David on this one and then go back to Mark. David, what are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing business owners making that are leading them to need the business fortress?
Yeah, not really having an understanding of exactly how they make money, not having their financial statements set up in a proper way to understand if they're actually making money in all their different lines of business. One of the things that we teach in the book is how to look at your business the way bankers and landlords look at tenants and companies they might lend to, and illustrate how a banker sees risk in a business, because small business owners live the day to day of running their business. They don't really see a lot of the risks that an outsider might see when looking at their business. And I think it can be really helpful for people to look at it the way someone on the outside might see it, and make better decisions when they have access to capital through operations. Unfortunately, a lot of people get led astray with sort of tax advice and things like that. I'm into building strong, resilient businesses, and that means learning about the balance sheet, not just the P&L.
Mark, you're muted. John, Warren, we're going to need to edit again. Hang on. We'll edit from the end of
All
David's
right.
answer.
I'll go back to this microphone. I was trying to do the better microphone. Looks like it needs to be updated. Okay,
Hang
3
on.
seconds.
Yep. Mark, what's your take?
Yeah, I totally agree with what David said. I mean, the unfortunate reality is so many people are basically bled dry by the banksters and the vampires that are there to take over the business's profits by sucking them bone dry. But when you can become your own line of credit to yourself, in other words, giving yourself an always approved loan to yourself, can you just imagine what that would do in a crisis, in a financial crisis, where the rest of the world is trying to kiss the ring of their banker, trying to get them to call them back, and you're the only business in town that has a ready contingency pool of capital? What might that do to your competitive rates, to your ability to take over market share, or even buy out your competitors? So you become just the one in control. And as you know, when you're on the courthouse steps, when everything else is on sale, you're making great opportunities your opportunity.
That makes a lot of sense. David, you've dealt with hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners throughout your career in the buying and selling process. What did you learn from watching all those transactions that helped inform the Business Fortress?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest things is just the end game. So for a lot of business owners, they might have this belief or this hope that their business holds a certain intrinsic value that they're going to be able to realize as part of their retirement strategy. And unfortunately, many small business owners wait until it's too late to really understand what their business is worth and understand how a buyer is going to value it and what they might realize in a transaction. So there's a section in the book that talks about growing your business and buying businesses. There's also a section in the book about the exit and what it looks like to sell a business. One of the scariest things that I see from time to time is when I talk with a business owner who will have made a financial plan, even with a financial planner, that will have, for example, $1 million sudden liquidity event when they turn 65, because an assumption has been made, sometimes 20 years earlier, that a business will be sold at that point in their life and that this is the amount of money that will suddenly go into their retirement plan, without actually knowing if the business is saleable and if they will in fact receive $1 million, and what the tax implications might be, et cetera. And so business owners need to plan for contingencies. Business is risky. Things can happen in the general economy or on your street that are going to impact the profitability and value of your business. And we need to plan for alternatives. That's why, a lot of the advice that we put in the book is there so that people don't end up, at the end of the day without the resources they thought they were going to be able to give themselves from all the work they put in.
Can you talk a little bit about the growth side of the Business Fortress?
Yeah, it's about growth in a smart way, I guess is the way to put it. So often, as we alluded to earlier, people are encouraged to grow, and when you're having a successive series of really great years in your business and you have increased revenues and increased profits, I've heard the story before that the bankers start to circle around and start to offer you more and more money, because to them, you start to look like a safer and safer bet for a loan, and their job is to sell loans and collect interest on those. And so it can be very tempting for people to take that money and then use it to try to fuel growth. And unless you have a proper plan, you can end up in trouble, but the debt never goes away. right? If the plan doesn't work, you took the money, you got to pay it back. And so the book's overall arching theme is one of continued strength by growing a stronger balance sheet so that you give yourself options and that you pause and reflect before making what could end up being a bad move.
Mark, can you talk about how some of the strategies in the book help us protect what we've got?
Yeah, it's the metaphor itself, isn't it? Do you have a keep where you keep your treasure? Do you have a moat that protects you against outside forces trying to invade? The intelligent folks that are working there at those banks, and also every competitor out there, plus everything that's regularly assaulting your personal budget too. Your luxury brands, your Mercedes Benz, they all want a piece of your money. They all have a financial plan for your business. Do you have a better plan? Would be the question. So as far as what some of the strategies are to help protect, where you put your money makes it act differently.
Hmm.
And so where you put your money will also impact how you act. Okay, so if all your money is tied up in triple leveraged options on Wall Street, you're going to feel different at 1 a.m. in the morning whenever somebody sneezes the wrong way, on the stock market, versus if it's in strategies that only make money, you never lose money. That's one of the things one of my clients recently said to me. He said, Mark, it was one of those moments I was mowing the grass when I thought about this. He said, Mark, when I put my money in things that are guaranteed not to lose money, I only make money. And it's one of those BFOs, I call them, brilliant flashes of the obvious. Whenever you put your money in things that don't lose money, you're only going to make money. And as a business owner, think of it like a barbell. You have your very risky business, which is on one side of the barbell. And we have to admit, no matter how cool your business is, it is a one ticker symbol stock, right? It's a high risk investment on one side of the barbell. But on the other side of the barbell, could you possibly have safe, risk free, even guaranteed assets that only grow where you don't lose money, but you only make money? To me, this allows you to lift more. It allows you to take bigger risks in your business and sleep better at night.
That makes a lot of sense. David, talk a little bit about you've helped many, many, many business owners exit successfully. Talk a
Hmm.
little bit about some of the strategies in the book about exiting. We all dream of that moment when someone writes us a really big life-changing check. You've seen it happen it helped facilitate that check many, many, many times.
Yeah. So the ultimate freedom is when you don't actually need the check on closing day. So when I'm talking with people about exit planning, there's a couple of steps we always follow. The first step is actually setting the goals. What kind of retirement income do you need? What do you want to see happen with the business going forward into the future? What impact does your business have on its community that you want to see carry on? And then you have to do an assessment of your resources for retirement. And guess what? If you already have the resources you need to achieve your retirement goals without actually selling the business, suddenly a whole new array of exit options actually open up to you. So you can then consider things like transferring the business to your employees and financing that transaction for them. You
Hmm.
can look at other options for exiting where you don't have to put the new owner under an immense, pressure of debt that a buyer might have to take on, which could cause them to need to scale back the workforce or to cut back on those community involvement items that you cherish as part of the legacy of your business. And so building a successful business and building your personal wealth gives you more options as far as getting out. When that gap is not covered by personal financial resources, that's when people have to rely on the sale of the business to be able to finance their retirement. And I've seen it go one of two ways. Either there's an amount required that can easily be covered by the business, so it's not that big of a challenge. The worst case scenario is when the business's value is less than the gap. And that's when people have to look at strategies to exit the business where they sell it for actually more maybe than it would sell for. And that can be done, but it usually involves a multi-year transition with the owner continuing to be involved. And that's not something someone who's 68 or 70 years old wants to hear. Like they usually arrive at that point and they want to make their retirement, to show them that the only way they can afford to retire is by maybe doing a staged transition over the course of 5 or 6 years is typically not very good news for that person. And that's why we encourage people to plan early and to think about things from a long-term point of view. And these are the ideas that we have in the book. When Mark and I got together, as your listeners know from hearing Mark previously on the show, he's involved in investment strategies involving life insurance. I said to Mark, I don't want people to buy this book on Amazon and then leave a review saying these guys are trying to sell insurance. So what we do is we talk about these different strategies, and we talk about all the different vehicles of liquidity that are available to a business owner, from savings accounts to stock market accounts to using credit cards if they want to access debt. We talk about all of them. We talk about the pros and cons, why someone would or wouldn't want to do each one. And we let the reader decide what's going to be the right move for them.
That makes a lot of sense. For our folks watching or listening who want to get a copy of the book, where is the best place that you want them to go grab it?
Well, I'll take that one. So the best one, we've set up a website just for you guys. If you want to listen to this in further detail, hear David and I speak about it, go to newbankingsolution.com. That's newbankingsolution.com. As we have several webinars we've put out over the years, we've put it right there for you to dig deeper into this. We talk about golden parachute strategies, 162A plans, things for your employees to keep them around. But we dive deep into the business fortress strategy on that site as well. And you can even reach out to either David or I to speak to us directly at newbankingsolution.com.
And if you just want to get your hands on the book, it is on Amazon too.
That's right, Amazon, and we've got downloadable copies or physical copies too.
Awesome. So the book is The Business Fortress, How to Grow, Protect, and Exit Your Business with Confidence by David Barnett and Mark Willis. David, Mark, thanks again for coming back, and congratulations on the new book.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.